Denzel Aberdine could be the most valuable influencer. Does Kentucky basketball need to follow him? Let's get to the Wildcats news now. Amidst the excitement of Kentucky's 2025-26 season opener, a story of maturity and leadership is gaining momentum behind the scenes at Rupp Arena. Denzel Aberdine, a point guard transferred from Florida, may not be the name that appears most in the headlines or the most statistically brilliant player, but he is already establishing himself as the most valuable influence within Mark Pope's roster, a true most valuable influencer in both the sporting and human sense of the expression. Aberdine arrives in Kentucky bringing more than just technical experience. He brings championship experience. He was part of Florida's national championship win last season, a feat that few within the Wildcats locker room can say they've experienced. And it is precisely this experience that Coach Mark Pope values most. He's been through the most important moments and has been through many journeys, Pope said. So, for sure, he will be a very reassuring influence for our group. That influence was evident right from the debut against Nicholls State in the 77-51 victory. Despite the convincing final result, the start was anything but inspiring. Kentucky seemed disconnected, making basic mistakes and playing at a slower pace than expected. In the first 10 minutes, there were 5 turnovers and only 3 baskets made. The crowd, accustomed to seeing explosions of talent, even enjoyed a fan who made a shot from half court during halftime more than the team's initial performance. But as soon as Aberdeen stepped onto the court, the energy changed. The 6 feet 4 inches point guard, still recovering from a groin strain, showed why his presence is so valuable. He made the team's first three-pointer after 7 failed attempts and provided the defensive tone that the Wildcats lacked. With his stealth skills, game reading, and tireless demeanor, Aberdeen brought intensity, something the team desperately needed. I just try to give 110% whenever I step onto the court, no matter the circumstances, said Aberdeen. I'm always trying to bring energy. This simplicity in his discourse reflects a mature, team-oriented mentality. Kentucky, which has oscillated between dominant performances, like the victory over Purdue in the friendly, and disappointments, like the loss to Georgetown, is still searching for a consistent identity. And it is precisely at this point that Aberdeen stands out. He understands the weight of details, the value of consistency, and the impact of quiet leadership. Muhaim Diabate, transferred from Alabama, revealed that the point guard is one of the most active voices in the locker room. Denzel is one of our leaders on the court. He has a lot of presence, he stated. This presence comes not only from words, but from attitude. In his debut, Aberdeen recorded 10 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, and no turnovers. A perfect portrait of efficiency and control. He may not finish the season leading Kentucky in points, rebounds, or three-pointers, but he's likely to lead the team in what doesn't show up in the statistics: composure, focus, and a winning mentality. Mark Pope is building a new Kentucky, and figures like Aberdeen are the glue that holds the project together. As the program pursues its coveted 9th national title, the influence of players who have already tasted victory becomes indispensable. Denzel Aberdine may not be the most media-savvy face on a roster, but he's the kind of player who transforms a talented group into a championship team. And in Lexington, that influence can be worth as much as any game-winning basket. Trent Noah's momentary absence from the Kentucky team not only caused palpable concern among BBN fans, but also reinforced how essential his presence has become to the team led by Mark Pope. When Noah left the court visibly weakened after a worrying ankle injury in his debut against Nicholls, the silence that hung over the arena was a clear sign that this young man, even in his sophomore year, carries the confidence of many who hope to see the Wildcats regain their hegemony in college basketball. The scene was tense. Noah fell with an expression of intense pain, getting up with difficulty while teammates and coaches rushed to assess his condition. The path to the locker room was surrounded by anxious glances, and the first half of the game ended under a veil of uncertainty. However, as the hours passed and initial examinations were carried out, the scenario began to clear. Fortunately, the scare did not develop into something more serious. After the game, Mark Pope, always attentive to the emotional nuances that permeate the sport, reassured fans by declaring that Noah was ready to play. Although he didn't return to the game against Nichols, a precautionary decision, as would be expected from a responsible coaching staff, the news brought relief to a program that has faced significant physical challenges at the start of the season. This prudence is a clear reflection of Pope's commitment to the health and future of his athletes, prioritizing the longevity of these young talents' careers instead of exposing them to unnecessary risks. The scare with Noah, however, cannot be dissociated from a larger context involving the current state of Kentucky basketball. Injuries have plagued the roster in this early stage of the season. Jalen Lowe, the starting point guard, remains out of action due to a shoulder injury, while Otega Owa, another important name on the roster, recently returned from a 2-month absence caused by a toe injury. Denzel Aberdine, whose absence in the friendly against Georgetown had already been felt, returned in this matchup against Nichols, but his performance was hampered by early fouls, reinforcing the importance of maintaining a healthy and cohesive roster. Furthermore, Jaden Quaintance, a key piece in Pope's strategic planning, is still recovering from an ACL tear and is only expected to return to the court in December. Faced with so many adversities, the perception of physical fragility within the group seems inevitable. But this scenario also presents an opportunity to demonstrate resilience and overcoming challenges. Trent Noah, in particular, embodies this resilience. Since joining the program, the young player has shown a remarkable level of versatility and determination, characteristics that have quickly transformed him into a central figure for the team's future. His playmaking ability, combined with his sharp defensive instincts, makes him an indispensable piece for Pope, who seeks to build a team capable of competing for the most important NCAA titles. The injury sustained against Nichols could have shaken any athlete, but the positive results from the exams and the coach's optimistic statement indicate that Noah will be available to help the team overcome this turbulent period. His return to training and, eventually, to games will be seen as a breath of fresh air for a roster that urgently needs to regain its consistency. It's worth highlighting that, in addition to the physical issues, the emotional impact of these injuries is also significant. In college basketball, especially in an iconic program like Kentucky, the pressure to perform at a high level is constant. With each game, the players carry the expectations of thousands of passionate fans, eager for victories and a style of play that honors the program's tradition. In this context, the way Mark Pope leads the team during this period of adversity deserves applause. He not only manages the physical limitations of his athletes, but also works to maintain high morale, promoting an environment where individual and collective development remains a priority. Noah's return will be closely watched not only by the fans, but also by analysts who see the young player as a symbol of renewal for the program. His ability to overcome difficult moments, such as the scare he experienced against Nichols, reflects a fighting spirit that will be crucial to the team's success in the coming months. Meanwhile, Pope will continue adjusting his pieces on the board, seeking creative alternatives to compensate for absences and preparing the roster for the challenges ahead in the competitive SEC. Leave your comment. Predictions for the 2025 to 2026 Kentucky basketball season are tinged with optimism, and for good reason. The program, which breeds basketball and boasts 9 national titles in its history, seems once again in a privileged position to contend for undeniable glory. Under the leadership of Mark Pope, the Wildcats team brings with it a mix of experience, emerging talent, and resilience that promises to be enough fuel to overcome challenges and elevate its ambitions to the peak. Myra Metcalf of ESPN was emphatic. This could be one of the 17 teams capable of achieving more than 30 wins in the season, a mark that reflects not only technical quality, but also consistency, depth, and the ability to adapt to adversity. The scenario outlined by Metcalf gains even more strength when considering the composition of this roster. Since taking the reins of the program, Mark Pope has demonstrated strategic vision and the ability to assemble a balanced team. The previous season, although impacted by injuries that limited the group's full potential, was an example of this. Even in the face of physical adversity, the Wildcats proved their mettle by advancing to the second weekend of the NCAA tournament. Now, with strategic reinforcements and key players returning to full fitness, Kentucky not only seeks to correct past mistakes, but also pave a bright future. One of the great highlights of this season is Otega Owa, elected the SEC's best player in the preseason. His leadership on the court will be crucial, especially in the way he influences the game both offensively and defensively. With an impressive combination of athleticism and tactical intelligence, Owa is the type of player who elevates his teammates and commands respect from opponents. He emerges as a central figure in this team, but he is not alone. Jalen Lowe, transferred from Pitt, arrives to take the reins of the offense at the point guard position. His arrival adds a creative dimension to Kentucky's offensive game, something that can make all the difference in crucial moments, whether against traditional rivals or in playoff games. And it doesn't stop there. Another factor that raises expectations is the return of Jaden Quaintance. Despite being sidelined by a serious right knee injury in February, Quaintance was already considered one of the top picks in the upcoming draft before his injury. His recovery not only represents a personal triumph over physical adversity, but also a powerful weapon for the Wildcats roster. When he is back in top condition, the impact of his talent will be felt in all facets of the game. Whether on the perimeter, with his lethal accuracy on long-range shots, or as a key piece in playmaking, Quaintance has everything to be that difference maker that transforms good teams into great ones. It's interesting to note that even with so many reasons for enthusiasm, there is caution in some projections. KenPom, known for his meticulous analysis and statistical data, predicts the Wildcats will finish the regular season with 24 wins and 7 losses. To reach the 30-win mark, as suggested by Metcalf, Kentucky will need to win at least 6 games in the SEC Conference and the NCAA tournament. While this may seem challenging, given the league's increasing competitiveness, it would be a mistake to underestimate this group's ability to surprise. After all, the program has a rich history of overcoming adversity in the most difficult times, and Mark Pope has shown that he knows how to get the most out of his players. Another relevant point this season is the scheduled matchup against Florida, the only other SEC team that Metcalf believes is capable of winning 30 games. Matchups between Kentucky and Florida always carry special weight, but the Valentine's Day game and the March game now take on even greater significance. It will be a baptism of fire for both teams, but also an opportunity for Kentucky to confirm its favoritism and consolidate its status as one of the main contenders for the national title. As the season approaches, it's impossible not to feel the pulse of emotion surrounding Kentucky basketball. The combination of seasoned veterans, new talents, and resilient leaders creates a melting pot of possibilities. If the predictions come true, this could be one of the most memorable seasons of the last decade for the Wildcats. More than numbers or statistics, what truly matters is the narrative being written. a story of overcoming challenges, ambition, and passion for the sport. I want to see your comment now.